on. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
I should probably play that a little bit quieter. I think I blow the eardrums out of everybody when I do that. Welcome, everybody, to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for an hour. And it is Monday, and I am sending out a link to pancakes out there. Seen them on the YouTube side, and he's too lazy to go to Gun Channels ever, so I figured I'd send him an email with a link if he wants to join in. So that got me distracted, and I did a pretty good job, I think, of talking and typing at the same time.
On a related subject, have you ever thought about just creating an email list with the top 15 people that, and just therefore you send out one email, but it hits 15 different people?
I probably could do that.
I mean, just it's easier on yourself, and then you just do it once, and you just hit, reply, and you hit send. Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to, except for the link, you don't have to change anything.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that would probably encourage a fuller room each night. All right, so it is Wednesday, and we have themes throughout the week. So what day, but did I say it's Wednesday? It's Monday, and our theme on Monday is how-to or behind the scenes, nuts and bolts, doing stuff like that. And I was just watching a show called Halt and Catch Fire. I was asking Dano if he'd seen it. So this is an effort in interactivity. So a bunch of people like to use the one platform out there, and then of course we've got Gun Channels. So anybody that wants a link over on Gun Channels, let us know. But if you've seen that show, Halt and Catch Fire, let us know. And
for those listening, I've heard of it but not seen it.
I just seen Woods out there again, so I'm gonna send him a link on Gun Channels. Okay, so it's basically the show, and it's about this like dynamic of a bunch of people. It's mostly drama, but the setting of it is tech industry and kind of different stages throughout computers being built, and then the operating system wars, and then the race to the internet, and the first like platforms like AOL and things. And then this last season, it's been sort of like the search engines, and the various people in it sort of take the roles of the various real life, or kind of mirror the lives of the real life, whoever it was that made these different, significant pieces of internet tech or whatever. And anyway, it's just kind of an interesting show, the way that they kind of involve real internet history in the way that they talk about it, but it's not actual, factual dates or people or anything.
And I was going to ask a question about that, as far as were they, kind of edutainment sort of thing, using the names of the real people who deserve the credit and real dates, so that, millennials know when this stuff happened.
Oh, no, it's not even trying to be a documentary at all. So it's odd that they do use like Apple or Netscape or AOL in it. Like they'll say those words and stuff, and those companies will represent themselves. But the companies that the fictional whatever characters that are in this series, it's like 4 seasons long, and each season is sort of a different era in the development of tech. So the first one, they're sort of like Texas Instruments, but not necessarily. And then they're kind of also a little bit like Microsoft. And then in the second one, they're like kind of like AOL, but they're not. And then they're still a competitor of AOL. So they kind of create these like extra companies that are not really in the real history, but can kind of parallel some of the traits or whatever of what really happened. And it doesn't try to put itself off as being like a documentary or biographies or anything like that, as much as just like what it would have been like to have, I don't know, been a fly on the wall or been watching a show about, when the computers were going from, basically database machines to personal computers, and the first people that saw that, and the sort of these fictional dramas of the behind the scenes of these companies or whatever, as they're watching each other and backwards engineering each other and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Anyway, sort of an interesting show. We talked about it on Matt's show before. Excuse me. But one of the characters in there sort of a jack of all trades, and if they have like a broken air conditioner, he's just always fixing it, and he's one of the hardware people. So the fictional characters kind of represent all the different pieces you'd need in any of those stories. You need a hardware person, a software person, and a big picture person, and a financial person, right? So he's like sort of like the person who can get a screwdriver out and fix it kind of thing. And anyway, so that got me thinking of just the jack of all trades and being able to do stuff as far as do it yourself around the house, maybe appliance repair, auto repair, shade tree mechanic type of stuff. And I suspect that a lot of those traits or whatever are, in the realm of gun owners, because part of gun ownership what people find interesting is the gunsmithing and the modifications and the maintenance and the upkeep and all that. If you're into that kind of stuff and it's interesting, then guns are, an aspect of it. So anyway, thinking about it like that, I was just thinking about trying to do a show or something where we just kind of, with just two people, it might not work, but with a bunch of people, have sort of a panel and just have people throw out interesting questions and sort of how does it work, or has anybody heard of what the idea of this is, and just sort of have a panel of people that can talk about some stuff, so that often we have a Q&A and it turns into like, what's your favorite this or that, but I don't know if we've ever had a real Q&A that's on the nuts and bolts. So, how do you start a email address over here, or what is the difference between VGA and some other kind of
SVGA?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting, at least myself, from the aspect of, because I first of all, I love history, old history, technical history, just history period, of new and old time stuff. Because it's, all the stuff that we were never taught in school, or we were just given a glazing amount of it.
Oh, no. Hold on. You don't want to that. Just FYI, you don't want to use that word anymore. That has a whole meaning nowadays. You don't want to be around that one.
I have to ask myself, do I need to change my whole, and I'm not asking for you to give me an answer, but I really don't think that I should have to change my vocabulary because a bunch of millennials and people who came just before them decided to change the definitions of normal words into abnormal words.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you can choose to not be aware, but you can also choose to be aware and just not, I mean, you can
not care.
You can never look down and walk into puddles and poop once in a while, or you can just be aware of what's going on. Yeah, you don't have to care to just not get into a quagmire. Anyway,
it's like,
go ahead and keep saying glazing. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll give you something, and maybe it's not analogous, maybe it is, but if I know somebody is anti-gun, I don't need to not bring up guns just because they are, because I might upset them, because it's something that happens to be my passion.
Okay. I was just making a joke more than anything, but
oh no, but it does go to a topic that me as an older person, because I am older than you by more than a year or two, run into. So anyway, I didn't mean to drag the show off.
Yeah, no worries. So Woods jumped in, so now we have all kinds of knowledge. We have it all covered now. We're done. So they can throw any kind of question at us. So anyway, I'm just wondering if that's something that people would be interested in hearing a show of, like a panel and just throw questions. Are we getting weird echo out of Woods? We're getting weird echo out of you.
What's that, man?
We're getting a really weird echo out of you.
Oh. Sorry, man.
But nobody's really commenting. Oh, then he jumped out. So there we go. So maybe it will be a short show, after all.
Well, I wonder if you misunderstood your statement.
I don't know. You heard the echo though. That wasn't just me, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There we go.
Is that better?
So far, yeah. It was just it sounded like background noise maybe, or I don't know. So anyway, throw some questions out there then. We got a little bit of feedback there. So far, Zora was asking if you got the lemons he sent.
I did not. Not yet. But it snowed here today. So, like in Washington, that doesn't ever happen. So we all just hunker down in houses.
So you can take a piece of lemon or lemon peel, I guess, and then go to a balloon and blow it up, and then squeeze the lemon peel, so that how it'll squirt the lemon stuff out of the peel, the oil or whatever. Squeeze some of that oil on a balloon, and it'll pop the balloon.
That's cool.
I would imagine that would impress little kids, and then it would teach
Oh,
them
yeah.
something.
Yeah, I could use that. We made volcanoes the other day, the old school volcanoes with the baking soda and vinegar. Super messy. It was a lot of fun.
Do you do it with like some sort of a pressurized thing, or just so it bubbles up?
Just so it bubbles up.
You would think something like a membrane that would eventually get, water or something would burst through, but something that would allow it to get just a little bit of pressure a little bit of volume and pressure, allow it to a little bit more reactive.
Well, I agree that would be super fun when you're dealing with 25 7-year-olds. Maybe
sounds
not
like 25. That sounds like 25 more reasons why you'd want it to explode and look cool.
Well, that's true. So what's our other topics?
Well, I was saying it would be an effort or an experiment in just doing throw questions at the panel show. We only got 3 people here, and no one's asking questions. Something about
maybe we should throw questions at them.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's the way to do it. McRibs does not. I'm missing stuff. I'm on top chat. Why does YouTube put it on top chat when there's like 7 people, 20 people watching? There's no possible way for it to need a throttle. Stupid.
That's got to be a default setting.
So I'm saying it's like a dumb default. It should default to all and then let you throttle it if you need to, right? Like how often do they need to be throttled? Or maybe make it, maybe it is. No, it can't be the size of the channel because this channel doesn't even have 1,000 subs.
And I don't really understand what they mean by top comments or top whatever, because it's not like you can thumbs up somebody else's comment while it's live streaming.
No, I think what it does on like a channel when it's really big, right? Like a news thing or an event or whatever, a space shuttle doing something, then they'll get so many comments that I think you have to be like verified, or maybe you have to be a size or something that only those get showed. It kind of throttles the thing. You only really see it on a really, really big chat though. One of the biggest chats I ever saw was a guy that would just sit there scratching off lottery tickets, and people were super chatting him money to buy lottery tickets, and then he would scratch them off. Super chatting money to scratch off lottery tickets, and somehow that's legit.
And that's a really interesting YouTube channel. I mean, because all the silly fluffiness around life that people will watch forever, cats licking cats, and people scratching lottery tickets, people crossing, at the sidewalk at a stoplight. I mean, people seem to watch anything.
Well, the cats
of a mundane orchard.
So the cats, little kitten videos, there's some back in the day. One of the reasons we started gun channels. Do you remember the like puppies or something? There were like webcams that would be turned on at like new puppy litters, or
oh yeah, yep. And
so
all day long, there would be like a heat lamp to keep them warm in case mama had to step out. But you could watch from work. You could watch the latest movements of the puppies.
Well, maybe not from work, but that was my point, is that maybe if you were in a hospital, or if you were bedridden, or if you were having mental things or something, I can think of it as being a therapeutic thing to actually have stuff like that. It might not be perfect. I mean, it could be a DVD, I guess, of it also. But I could see other instances, old people or something. I mean, I can see there's uses of having stuff like that. But
well, you're right for sure. There's definitely a therapeutic point.
But the thing is, it was frustrating because then you'd go to the comments of that thing, of whatever that puppy thing was back then. If I remember, this was years ago, right? I'm trying to remember back, and I don't dwell on these things, so I'm not recollecting it 100%. But people are just putting in there such rude, obnoxious stuff. I'm like, come on, you know that this is made for like either old people or babies. Like, it's not made for you at work, you know? And why would you go in there and shit on their thing when it's puppies, for crying out loud?
And that's the exact reason why I think the vast majority of people watching are people either at work or kids in junior high.
Well, the ones that made noises for sure, but I mean, I don't know. That there were, I think the other thing was it was a phenomenon because there was like thousands of people watching, right? I
Yep.
remember it was a lot.
People are very people-y sometimes.
There's a lot of people in the world too.
Yep.
And,
There was,
I mean, it doesn't take.
a good question in there
oh,
that I would love to know your guys' opinion. Both of you are at least relatively Glock guys. I'm not gonna like call you fanboys or anything. What do you guys think of the new Mossberg offering? That's basically just a Glock, but cheaper.
so Mossberg put out a pistol for the first time because it was their 100th year anniversary, and they did a pistol when they first started, a little brownie or a what do they call it, a 4-barrel. Anyway, a pepper box, I guess. So I didn't even look at it, but I think it's neat that they put out a gun after 100 years. Do we need another tiny little 9mm? I don't know. No, but people like them.
First, I have to preface what I'm about to say is I have not even seen a picture of it, let alone handled one. But I would hope that they tried to be a little innovative rather than be 25 years late to the party. So I'm hoping that there's something, although it may not be innovative for me, but maybe it's innovative for somebody else.
But is a company allowed to say, hey, it's our 100th anniversary, we're a gun company, and we made a pistol one time. Normally we make shotguns and rifles. Let's make a pistol for our 100th anniversary. Does it have to be then the most practical, useful, efficient gun ever?
Well,
I guess they did make it.
Because it's a special anniversary, it should not be anything like a High Point.
Well, it's not like a High Point. It's a regular.
That's my point. If it's a 100th anniversary, special anniversary, it should be something. There should be something special about it because it is a special anniversary.
I was kind of intrigued with the MSRP that it's what $150 less than a Glock, which is what Mossberg made their money on, is having affordable things for people. So I'm torn in my love for everything Mossberg, because I mean I think it is funny that Glock and Mossberg both made their money on simplicity of design.
Are you familiar with the general aspects of the firearm that I could ask you a couple questions?
Yeah, my knowledge is limited. I know it takes the Glock 43 mags, is what I read.
Okay, it's a single stack, not a double stack.
I believe it is a single stack.
Okay. As far as grip length and length from front to back, is it closer to the mid-size Glock or the smaller?
The smaller
Glock. Okay.
I think it's basically trying to be the 43, right? Is the 43 the 9mm?
Yes, the 43 is the single stack 9mm.
It's basically trying to be that. I'm not saying it's not being anything that it's. They do have like different versions of it. Like there's an upgraded model of it, and then there's the basic one. But
the competition, I would think, for that size gun would be the Shield, being that it has a slightly greater capacity. It's cost-wise, it's right up with what you're talking about $350. Give or take a little bit depending on sales. So I would think that would be its primary competition, barring some gun I'm not thinking of at the moment.
Well, and then I'm also concerned on cars, buying the first generation of anything. I kind of want to see what happens after people have 1,000, 5,000 rounds for the thing. Does it hold up or not? We don't know at this point.
Yeah. As I've gotten older, I have very quickly shifted into don't buy the first year a gun is out. I mean,
or
part of that
really.
is I don't have a fortune of money that I can say, well, I'll just trade it in when the better one comes out. if you are of that, I don't mean you specifically, but if somebody is, that's great. Then go ahead and do that other thing.
All right, hold on. So you guys can have those opinions or whatever, but I'm going to throw this out there. Buying the first one gives you one of the first ones. I own plenty of first guns that didn't pan out, so now I own a very rare, limited edition gun. If you own one that goes on to be something better, I've been in that position. Worst that happens, you just have a earlier version of the gun or whatever. But then if it goes on like a Glock or something to be, very common and long lasting, then you've got potentially a collectible. In addition to all of that, you're taking part in financially letting that gun keep going. So something like this, where it's completely brand new, if you're a fan of the company, then I would think buying one would be, in a way, helping to ensure, at least influence, that they continue down that line. Because if everyone took that approach, then they wouldn't sell any. They would be hesitant or probably decide not to pursue it at all. And then they'd never have a chance to develop it.
Well, that's true. Go ahead, man.
Go ahead.
Well, let me just end it with the $300 part. I know people that play guitars, and I know people that are into motorcycles, both of which, do it if you want to, I don't care. But don't tell me that a $300 gun every once in a while. Hell, I know people that buy more than tools than that. I know people that spend that on vape stuff, maybe not that much on vape stuff in a month, but in a year for sure. So $300 on a gun versus all the other little hobbies and garbage and ways people blow off money. I could think of worse things than having a bunch of guns. Worst that happens, you sell that gun for $280 somewhere down the line, and you owned it for a while. So I can't be an advocate of not buying first guns.
Okay, let me address two aspects. One is being the first to own it. And and I don't necessarily disagree with you, but that can cut in both directions. I don't want to be the first person to buy that Sky pistol, and I also don't think, because we have a capitalistic system, that it is my responsibility to help ensure some company continue on, financially.
No, but you don't have to take it as a responsibility. You can look at it as an opportunity. I bought my Zips because I wanted that gun to exist. That was cool as hell. I liked talking to the guy. He was cool. He had a neat idea. It didn't happen, but at least I tried. My Ruger brake tops, first time those came out, right? We wanted those to exist.
And I think that speaks to the wide variety of the different financial, not aspects, but abilities that we all have. Some of us can afford to do that. Some not so much, some not at all.
Now, I like to think that what Dan was saying could have worked to our advantage back in the olden days, when those 1900s, when the 9mm first started getting built. If those baby Nazis would have never bought that 9mm, we wouldn't have that laying around here today.
I cut you off? I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
Uh-huh.
Oh, bringing me into it. I think I'll probably end up buying one, just because I think I'm concerned with buying the first generation of something. But I mean, it's like you said, it's only $300, and I am also going to bet Mossberg's going to make a good product. They've made a good product my whole life. So I mean, if it was some company I never heard of before, then I'd be a little more skeptical.
Yeah, but it is a company you've never heard of making a pistol.
Yeah, but they're probably pretty good gun guys. I'm imagining they know how guns work pretty well.
The other thing that I think would be interesting is if, and I'm not trying to say to buy something else, but if, at least before you bought that one, if you handled racked as well as maybe did on top of the glass container, a side-by-side comparison between the Shield 9mm, how it felt in your hands, how it aimed and pointed, how it racked, and then the same with the Mossberg, so that you had a clear idea, said, oh, I got this Mossberg, and people are going to say, well, what about the Shield? And then you have your answer immediately for that.
It's a good idea.
I mean, because the cost is a real difference between the Mossberg and the 43 Glock, but less so with that Shield.
I'm looking through to see if we have any more questions.
Come on, audience, help us out here.
So he said, what are we going to do when the robots take our jobs? Sit around, right? maybe got to oil robots, or are the robots going to oil themselves? Is that another robot going to oil that robot? Then you just have to sit around.
It is an interesting question because it raises another concept that is related, and that's the idea of a socialistic but universal basic income. Because there's no way we have enough unskilled labor jobs out there to fulfill to give work for people that these robots are going to initially. That's what they're going to be doing is unskilled labor because that's the easiest thing for them to do.
Well, I'm lucky that I'm a teacher, so I think we're probably a little while from before they can replace me.
Well, I would challenge that. And the way I would challenge it is think of the way computer learning programs and learning sections and then taking quiz after reading certain things that it is coming into the schools.
Oh, absolutely. My classroom, they require me. In fact, tomorrow when I go to work, I normally just give kids paper and pencil tests because they're easier for me to grade, but now I'm getting required that they have to do them. All the kids have a laptop in the whole school, and that was their big drive. And now they're pushing us all to make sure that whenever we do a lesson, we have a digital component to it, which good teaching doesn't need a computer. But I think you're definitely correct in that that's the way we're going. But I don't think there's also behaviors, and robots can't deal with behaviors.
Right, and that's when
I got photographic evidence here. Let me see if I can screen share of the new robot teachers. Boom.
Yep, that's what it looks like.
That's gonna. Well, I'm out. All right. Well,
sorry.
I'm gonna have to go in the woods and be a hermit now.
The thing is, you guys will probably have some time left where you could podcast and record what it was like when human beings taught our children, so that it's not forgotten and the robots can teach the new children about it.
Before artificial intelligence becomes self-aware, the help sections that we now kind of laugh at because they're just FAQs will be the teachers of the future. Because, think of how you can type into a search engine and it'll look for variations of what the person's actually trying to say. Do you mean this or do you mean that?
Yeah, but most of my background is actually in behavior of children and kids with behavior disorders. And if they do that, they're going to have a crap ton of kids who don't listen to anybody, and the robots won't know what to do.
Special ed will probably always be special in its needs as well as the things that need to be addressed. So I'm thinking traditional kids. But
the push is there is no such thing as that. We're not separating kids anymore. That's not what we do. We take the kids and put them in the general ed classroom. It's required by law.
Yeah.
I've got 5 in my classroom.
If you'll notice on the Teacher of the Future, there's this joystick, which will move the arm over here, and then this joystick will move the other part, the orange part.
So to pick up the kid?
That'll cover all different types of kids.
I would like to relate something that you said, Woods, as far as integrating the kids into all the classes. And this may not be 100% analogous, and you tell me when I'm all done, but there were 5 high schools in a large city near me, 2 of which were having major problems. The other 5 were doing between okay and pretty darn good. They integrated all the schools. Now all 5 high schools have academic problems and violence problems. That's what they got by including everybody inside. Now, I'm not saying it's the same thing because it's a totally different type of individuals. But when you include everybody in, you also have a way of, let's say if it was clean water before, and I hate, this is a bad analogy. Let me withdraw that one right away.
Yeah, because separates can never be equal.
Yeah.
And that I don't have the answer to because I do little kids, because older kids and the people that do those kids are brave people that can get a wonderful place in heaven. I stop at 11 years old.
Yeah, and just so people know, I'm not talking completely out of my ass, but I'm nowhere in the ballpark of Woods. Is I volunteer for 2 different summers with special educated kids. One summer it was the visually impaired as well as the deaf kids. The other summer it was the severely and profoundly retarded kids, which is far beyond just retarded. For those that aren't aware of what that is, I won't go into the details, but Woods probably is fully aware. And that's a group that requires a special place.
We have changed the name.
How old were you? How old were you when you did that, Dan?
How old was I?
Yeah, was that when you were a kid or when you were older?
No, I was probably 20.
Yeah, we've changed the name of that. It's intellectually developmentally disabled now, because just the word retarded had some negative connotations. But good for you for doing that.
Yeah,
I correct people using that word all the time. I have coworkers that are teachers that are like, "That's retarded," and I stop them and I say, "That means that you have a social maladaptive disorder and your IQ is less than 67."
All right. Right. Well, we're not going to talk about that. People don't talk about that. I don't like that word around me.
Amen.
All right. Well, let's move on. So we're here.
I got a problem with changing words, but it doesn't change the reality of what's going on.
I don't care about all that crap.
Okay.
But let's move on. So, got real comments or questions coming in here.
Give me a real question.
Let's see. So I'm going to try to chunk one off or break one off here in the middle because they're having conversations or whatever. I'll go for the bottom up. What does AI have to do with Daily Gun Show? Nothing. We're playing around. Was this stuff supposed to make things cheaper and improve the quality of life? All this stuff. It was all. I don't know what all this stuff is, Rob. So it was supposed to make things cheaper and improve the quality of life, but it's done the opposite. Does he mean the internet or technology or industrial revolution? Anybody know?
I mean, we vaguely kind of scuffed the surface of a little bit when we were talking about pistols and making a 100th anniversary and should it be different and should we support it and just very. I mean, we didn't really touch on any of it precisely, but just grazed it.
Yeah. So I am kind of just reading some of these to be questions, I guess, too. So Angelina says, which is the best Indiana Jones film?
I would say the Indiana Jones film that's currently being made in this chat right now without her in it.
So I think the first one probably. Have you seen all of them, Dana?
I know I've seen at least 3. If there were more than 3, I haven't seen all of them.
So the first one was the big ass marble and the little golden statue and the snakes and that. And then the second one was the rip-off one with the little kid, and it was a big gimmick. And then the third one was his dad was James Bond. And then the fourth one, I think, is when he's... Nope, I was going to say when he was a Boy Scout in the beginning, but that was the dad is James Bond. So I think the fourth one is the crystal meth skull, where he goes and sees aliens, and there's crystal skulls in South America, underground pyramids that turn into spaceships. It's pretty good.
I've definitely not seen the last one then.
People hate it, but it's pretty cool. So I think the first one, though, it was at the time, at least, I mean, you're older than me, but there hadn't been that kind of a movie in a while. Like, those movies were around in the olden days of the black and white movies, but I don't remember like whatever you'd call that, like adventure in the jungle type of movie. So they started to kick that off, and that whole like World War II sort of theme to it was kind of new. I thought it was
right.
Kind of...
It was, I can't think of any. They don't have to be an archaeologist, but an archaeologist type of person that is not quite modern times, but not that far back, but goes back to the Nazis as far as stuff that was in, as well as other things related around it, and that whole genre, which was exposed in the very first one. I mean, you can't beat the very first time you're introduced to a whole brand new world. It's like going into an alternate universe almost. It's like nothing beats your first time. So I'm going to vote for number 1.
Woods, we're voting for best of the Indiana Jones movies.
Oh, the first one. That's my favorite movie ever made.
All right. So throwing out links there. I don't know why so many people watch it on YouTube, but one day it'll be on Gunstreamer. But there's links on gun channels for everybody. It's gun channels. Let's see.
So, G Webs, what was your vote?
First one.
And the reason why?
I think I started the whole thing saying because it started the whole type of movie like that. And
okay.
I hadn't seen any. I mean, I guess I was aware that those, like, what do they call them, swashbucklers or blockbusters? What do they call that type of movie where it, Big Adventure or whatever it was called? Like, I knew those existed, but that was the first one I'd seen.
Yeah, because the part I missed was where you said, Dano, I agree with everything you just said.
No one says that.
I will have to say that was the first movie I saw as a kid where they just went right into it from the beginning. Like, there's no build-up. They just, you're in it.
Yeah, that was part. I like that too.
Even the newer bad ones were like that.
What movie are you talking about now?
The one you asked the question about.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I like Temple of Doom is my favorite one.
That's the second one? That's the second one?
That is I think that's the first one.
Is that the prequel one?
That's the one where they start off and Willie Scott is singing Anything Goes. And then give me the antidote. And then they get in the
That's the second one with the like little kid and the girl.
Yeah, with Short Round.
Well, there you go. That is the girl movie of them all, and you're the girl who picked that one. So yeah.
I like it because the heart part where they're like Kalima and he pulls his heart out. I like that part too. That was just my favorite one as a kid, and then the Indians in the village freaked me out a lot, but separate.
All right. So there we go. So that's the only question that was even asked. So now everybody's chiming in on that. So we should just start calling this the Daily Temp or Indiana Jones chat. Talking about Indiana Jones every night.
Yeah. The new one's pretty good.
I don't even know who's pro-gun in this chat anymore. I guess some of these people are because it's obvious because they let you know. But then other people, you can't even tell.
I think I know who's anti-education.
The robots?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So anyhow, this one was a big mess. I guess we'll wrap it up. And that's how you have good shows by having shit piles. So no fault of anyone in here, but this one didn't work out. I was trying to do a format and can lead a bunch of people to a chat room, but you can't make them ask you questions that you can then actually have some interesting conversation chatting with. C4 saying, I'm down with that. I don't know what that means. So you got a link on the gun channel side, which is where I send all links. I don't know. I don't send out an email. Who was saying I should send out an email? Dano?
What's that?
I think you were saying I should send out an email before the chat, like.
I was suggesting a group email where you'd have, like the people that normally show up on a semi-regular basis. And then all you have to do is change the link each time and hit send with each show.
Yeah, I don't do that. So I put the links out on gun channels. I may or I may not, but I think with that asked, you asked. So I'm going to go back to see what you don't know me said. Anybody see his question? Okay. Do you hide any guns for a ban or shit hits the fan situation? So that would be called caching guns, and cache would be to strategically place stuff somewhere. So you can cache in a house, like friends. You can cache in a remote location somewhere. I guess you could cache in your own place, and people cache for hedges on all kinds of, for future potential. So I don't think anybody is going to answer that question if they do. So if you want to answer it, go ahead.
I'm with you on the not answering it. By that, I should probably tell you why I didn't answer that.
Yeah, I was just going to say something very similar, and I'll let Woods answer his part. I think it probably has to do with personal security, but
Got to figure what you think your problem might be or what your circumstances might be, right? And then decide if you're going to be walking or if you're going to be driving, and then figure how far realistically you're going to walk or drive before you might need something like whatever it might be. And that could be food, it could be a thing of matches, it could be water, depending on your environment, it could be filtered, it could be stuff for catching fish. I mean, there's people I know that'll just ditch all their fishing stuff at lakes. You know, they'll find a spot, bury a 5-gallon bucket somewhere, and they go out there, they kick the shit away, they pull out their stuff, they go fishing, throw it all back in a 5-gallon bucket, and they just leave their kind of stuff out there. So there's all kinds of caching, and, you know, it just depends on how you want to do it. I think there's entire channels. I'm sure there's books written about the philosophy theory of it.
And there are good video, you know, do-it-yourself videos out there on how to in different types of terrain and different environments, from urban to suburban to rural to forest, cornfields, etc. But you know, the personal security aspect is, especially, you know, being on the internet. You know, do you really want to say, you know, what you got and where it's spread everywhere? Not such a great idea. The other is what you do for a normal job, what you do for an income. You never want to put that on, you know, in jeopardy. So that's another good reason on why you might want to think twice before you release that information. But as far as how to, there's plenty of really good information out there on YouTube on how to do that.
Next. How different would Red Dawn have been if those kids would have cached, or their parents would have, and you know, they would have been aware of caches up in the hills?
Yep.
It would have been a whole different movie.
You know, and keeping it simple, from food to triple antibiotic to bandages to firearms and ammunition.
It would have just been called Red Afternoon, because they would have mopped up the commies real quick.
Yep.
All right. So that was a question. Gary's been watching. Do you have any questions to throw out there? Answers to throw out there?
Not yet, anyway. But thanks for the invite.
So you don't know me as saying, do the shockwave type firearms have any value in home defense? And thanks again for being. Are you the only one even asking real gun questions? So, so you know what we're talking about. Very short, couple of 5-shot, I think, firearms. Value for home defense, just yes or no. Angelina, yes, no?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Shockwaves and the
oh yeah
14s or whatever.
Yep, home defense, yeah.
Gary?
It wouldn't be my ideal weapon, but yeah, it'd definitely work.
You know?
Better than nothing, but far from my first choice.
Well, that wasn't a yes or no, but it was a descriptive answer. And then Woods?
I'm going to part company. I'm going to say absolutely.
How was that parting company?
Well, I mean, like Dan was like, it wasn't his first choice. Shotguns are my first choice.
That was not. He didn't say shotguns.
Yeah, I did. I said the shockwave.
The shockwave is a particular type of shotgun.
Well, that's true. I didn't say shotguns. I said the shockwave firearm. But yeah, I guess you're saying that all shotguns are your choice, so that would be in your definition, I guess. I'm going to say no. So I would be closest to Danos, but I don't like shotguns, and I definitely don't like them for home defense. So no. But they are neat. If there wasn't laws, yeah. But I think in laws, no. So does anybody?
What do you mean by that? Because there's laws you don't? I don't get it.
Because when you are legally responsible and there's consequences from every projectile you send in any direction that comes out of your firearm, I'm not a fan of shotguns anymore. I don't want a stray pellet going somewhere and being an issue. And I don't want any amount of my effort to be not going where I want it to go specifically. So I'm just not a fan of them. And I don't like the minimum amount of ammo you can have in them. And while they're interesting and neat, I just don't think they're practical and useful. It's a lot of stuff to hold. It can be taken from you. It means most of the time you got to use 2 hands. So you're either mounting your light to it or not, and that's a decision I don't want to have to make. I could go on and on. I don't like shotguns for home defense, and I don't like the little short one either. But does anybody else want to throw out why they do like it?
Badass.
I'm sorry. Are you trying to achieve a solution to a problem, or you're trying to look cool?
Me?
No, in your answer. Your answer implies something different.
Oh, I mean, if it's like, I'm not going to say no to any gun. It's badass. But if someone broke in and I had a shockwave, I'm sure I'd still be able to like shoot them or scare them.
I think for me, I'm more comfortable with shotguns because that's what I fired the most in my life. So I hear what you're saying, G, on that. You don't want things going where you don't want them to go. But I'm also more confident that I can make sure I make the bad guy go down with a shotgun than I am going to do with a pistol because I'm a better shot with a shotgun. And I know that doesn't wholly make sense, but that's kind of where I'm at with that.
So would that also apply to both your immediate as well as any possible future family? You would still want that general purpose scatter gun?
Let's say some jerk breaks into your house and he's being weird and violent in your house, and you have to, he forces you to do something about that, and your TV gets taken out in the process.
And I buy another TV.
Yeah, that's my thing. I mean, I'm just cheap. I don't want to buy another TV.
But I don't really buy into the whole, like, it's going to punch their wall and hit kids and, like, kill my puppy or anything.
No, not at all. An AR-15 is a better choice than a shotgun, though.
But I think for me, it's just my comfort level with an AR-15 isn't near as much as a shotgun. But other people are more comfortable with other guns. As I get better with my AR-15, maybe I'll switch. But right now, I'm not there.
And the reason I posed the question the way I did to you, Woods, was, and again, I don't know your situation, but, let's pretend that, you get married someday.
I'm married now.
Okay. And not knowing the level of comfort or lack of comfort that your wife may have with various platforms, you may feel great with that shotgun. She maybe yes, maybe not so much, maybe something else.
Oh,
and that's why
her weapon of choice will start G on a whole nother thing because hers is her Rigger 1022, which I get rimfire and self defense, but it's what she'll use, so that's what we're going with.
I mean, a gun's a gun in a time of need, right?
No, not at all.
You've created a tool that if for some reason she can't find the 1022, all she has is that shotgun. If I'm just saying somebody moved it that day to a different corner of the room and it's dark versus having the same operations manual as far as how to operate the gun, doesn't matter whether she grabs yours or hers, it has the same manual of operations.
Yeah, but she's
whether they're both shotguns or whether they're both ARs or whether they're both whatever.
I have a question. What is the right answer, Dano?
It depends on one situation, which is why I was asking Woods, like I didn't know if he was living on his own or whether he was living with a wife, because those are all factors, as well as did he have kids, and I don't want to know the answer to that last one, but those are all things that play into the role of what is not the best answer, but an acceptable answer for that situation. Do you live in the urban? Do you live in the suburban? Do you live in the small town? Do you live in the woods where you're a half mile or more from your closest neighbor? Those are all factors that'll play into that decision.
It's definitely a bunch of stuff to think about. I do live in the city, and I think my wife is much more comfortable with a shotgun than she'd ever be with an AR. But I'm still working on it. It's one of those ones where you got to get them comfortable over time.
Now, just out of curiosity, have you had her shot a 20 gauge?
Yeah, I just bought her one last summer, and she's fired it maybe 6 or 7 times. She really enjoys it. But my house isn't that big either, so.
So we did. It's about questions. So we got more questions coming. You don't know me. Ask again, or ask a second time about on this one. I'm going to go up to the bigger question where he said, how about reloaded 9mm hollow points? Are they okay to use? Why are factory reloads not more popular? Because reloads are inconsistent and you don't need to give the prosecuting attorney the ammo, pun intended, in court. So if you use factory ammo, then that's a constant in your favor, and it's difficult for a prosecuting attorney to go after, demonize, somehow, sway a jury on your choice of ammo or your ability to reload or the connotation and all that. So reliability wise, factory ammo tends to be more, potentially reliable too.
I agree with what G-Web said, but I'd like to answer it in a slightly different way. Is even in the cleanest, most clear-cut self-defense situation, there's going to be a number of avenues that the prosecutor has to use against you. What you don't want to do is potentially add additional revenues of attack against you unintentionally. And that's what that possibly does.
Is there any case precedent actually set with that? Like where somebody there's a conviction based on gun modifications or ammunition?
No, it comes up in cases where prosecutors ask the defendant, why did you reload your self-defense ammunition? And of course, they don't put it quite that straightforward. And I'm getting this from somebody who's been at this trial and testified in this trial, and I'm sure G. Webbs has also heard the same thing, but he's gotten more than I have, and that's from Masad Ayub, who's testified in these cases and heard these questions that prosecutors ask. Why did you, and then not just why did you reload, why did you choose that exact bullet? Why the 124 versus the 115? Why the 115 versus the 148?
And that's
it just goes
cases of this is ammunition that I reloaded myself and had a self-defense shooting.
Could you say that question again?
That those questions are being asked because of you reloaded those rounds yourself and you had a self-defense shooting?
Yes.
Like you loaded it too hot or something like that? Like you're a bad guy because you made it more deadly than a normal
Do you know what this case is offhand, or where?
These it's not just one case. This is kind of an ongoing thing that prosecutors like to look for because they're looking for convictions. That's what their whole career is based off of.
Right.
Okay. So they're looking for any weakness in the wall, and so they will probe anything and everything to see where they might be able to get somebody to screw up on the stand and say one wrong word.
Well, yeah,
like, because it penetrated more. Oh, so you're looking for a round that's more deadly? I mean, they're trying to make you look bad either to the jury or to the judge. It's not about science.
Is there a configuration that's least bad or like least convicting?
Yeah, whatever your ammunition your local law enforcement uses.
I was going to say something very similar to that, yeah.
And that's supposedly what'll be the cleanest for self-defense?
Yes, because it's something that he can't probe you about in questions. And even if it's something that your police don't use, but other known police do, that's still a shield. You know, if your local police use critical duty, but the department next door uses gold dots, that's still going to be just as good because there are known departments that use them by the thousands all the time.
That's good information. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's a kind of, I mean, I have more questions about it, but I'll save them for a Google search.
I mean, reloads are great for inexpensive going to the range stuff. Absolutely. But for self-defense, totally different world because literally your life is the most important thing other than your monetary assets, because that's all we have. What are our resources, and how much time we got left on this earth?
So if you're waiting for a precedent to be set on everything, then that's tough, because like, are you gonna wait until you get a broken arm to listen to people's advice about jumping off of monkey bars? So you can look it up. I think I just did a quick search, and it was Masada's book called Combat Handgunning or something that he quoted, where he had talked about it. But I don't think he hides his footnotes or his what do they call that when you link to the reference or the resource wherever you found it from.
Citation.
Yeah. So a lot of his stuff, his articles and stuff, are online, like the digital forms of them. So whenever he does an article, either in a periodical or in one of his books, he'll have notations on the cases. I mean, he's very thorough in that.
Yeah, extremely thorough, to where a quarter of the page can be nothing but that.
But we're not prepared. We just started talking about this, so I don't have notes at my disposal or anything. But I did notice that in that excerpt from the article, he said that since he's been in the game, which has been since the 70s, prosecuting attorneys have gone after decisions from every aspect. So basically, we're not saying that here's the equation for a no nonsense, get out of jail free card. No one's suggesting that. It's just that after years of experience, since prosecuting attorneys have to do something, you can make decisions that will give them less angles to pursue.
And it also has nothing to do with living in a good state versus a bad state. It's all to do about the prosecutor you happen to get assigned.
Yeah. And you can never tell when it's going to be a situation where somebody's trying to get reelected or decided that this is the time to bring something up so that they can be in the limelight for something. And I don't know. There was another one back then before that one, or right around that one. Oh, what is kind of what Angelina was asking, I guess, just Dano before. Here you go. The HD. Okay, what's everyone's favorite home defense firearm? So, Angelina?
Probably most often my shield.
Gary?
Most of the time, it's my Taurus PT-111 G2.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I stepped out for a moment. The question was again?
Preferred home defense firearm?
Oh, that'd be my Glock 19 with my PL2 Light Mini, given to me by a friend.
Woods?
I'm going to have to go with my SP-101 or a shotgun, depending on what's closer.
And then we got Zorro in here.
My SIG P226.
And then Dano's the only one that said with a light. Nobody else puts a light on their guns.
Well, mine has one. Mine has a Valkyrie LP2, I think.
I have a separate flashlight because I don't like to point a muzzle and a light.
Same here.
Agreed.
Well, that's too bad. So I've got the Glock with a light on it, and then ARs are my preferred home defense gun with a light on them. So you can carry another light if you want, and you can always point a light down. Everybody else, you're also supposed to say it's too bright to shine your light in the house. So then you just shine it at the ground, and then you're not muzzling anybody, but you still illuminated the stuff you need. But whenever you're pointing a gun, you surely want illumination, especially at night. But that's another topic. I suppose that's what this is all about, having Q&A so that people can hear some different points of view on stuff, and then hopefully take kernels from this show and have your own show or a discussion someplace at the shop. Say, hey, I heard this people online and they have different opinions on shotguns for home defense or lights on your gun. And that's the kind of question you can ask at a shop, and now you're not just a regular customer. You're that customer that's an interesting question once in a while. Have you seen any other questions out there that we're missing? There's quite a few chats going on. Very few people are identifying if they're even pro-gun anymore, but
I've got a question, but it might be for a topic for another day. In Washington State here, the insurance commissioner has decided in 2020 things like USCCA are out. He will no longer allow them to be sold in Washington State.
Insurance?
What do you mean, the insurance or the community?
Yeah, the insurance, because he's the insurance commissioner. He's like, nope, none of that. So I'm going to have to go to like prepaid legal, I guess, right?
No.
Well, USCCA is not the only one unless he's saying anything like it.
Anything like that.
So
he named the NRA one and the USCCA one in what he's in his bill that he's drafting.
He put Law Shield in USCCA?
He did. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look it up, but I thought that was a pretty big reach for another way to do an infringement and get the insurance commissioner to be involved. Usually those guys don't have anything to do with that. They're like life insurance and crap.
Right.
So
but it's death by
this already passed, or it's gonna be passed?
Well, it's one of those ones where he's the insurance commissioner, so it's gonna be regulation.
Yeah, he is the regulator.
Anybody.
Oh, it doesn't have to be a law. It's just the way he decided.
Yeah.
A suggestion I have, and they're really good at it, is you can actually call and a human being will answer the gun owners of America. Tell them what state you are, tell them what you've heard, and ask them if that's the case, and if so, what are the options, at least for now.
That's a great idea, Dano.
Oh, I didn't know they did that.
But I've called them, and they do have a human being answer the phone. Say, hello or good morning, gun owners of America.
So, do you record it when you do that? Because that'd be interesting to post those as videos, huh?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
So, the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network is in Washington State. It's not insurance. Similar. So I wonder if that's covered as well, or if that's also penalized, or whatever it would be.
Yeah. Because that's the one I currently have.
Right, that would be prepaid legal, right? Essentially.
No. So there's more than, it's not as if there's CCW insurance and there's like 6 different brands of it, right? There's things that all call themselves CCW insurance or all get labeled as that, but there is no such thing as actual CCW insurance. There's just all these different versions of prepaid legal and funds and attorney, whatever it's called, like networks or something. So there's very few. I've seen a couple over the years, like good explorations of the differences and stuff, but the prepaid legal is actually more of the, you do that on your own. I don't know of any national level prepaid legal options. The fund is more of a fund, or the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network or fund or whatever it is now. It either went from fund to network or network to fund, I forget. It's more of a fund of money that people have access to when they qualify or when it's needed. And then there are a pool of expert witnesses and lawyers that are available, but unlike prepaid legal, from what I understand, you put down a retainer and you have this attorney on retainer, right?
Right. And that attorney is just not any attorney. It's somebody that has to be vetted by them. It's not the same guy that does real estate.
You Don't Know Me wants me to ask the panel their thoughts on keeping a firearm in their vehicle 24/7.
Bad idea.
It's an especially really bad idea in Washington State after July 1st, because if that gun was stolen and used in a crime, you're guilty of a Class C felony.
Are you kidding?
No, that's part of 1639.
I would just simply throw out there, generally not thrilled with it, but depending on how you secure your vehicle at night, would very much depend on how much I'm not in favor of it. Like parked on the street, really not in favor of it.
What about like in your garage?
Is your garage attached? Is it properly closed?
It's attached.
No. I mean,
so.
the more secure the garage is, the more I'm less against it. Let's just put it that way. I will never be 100% for it, but I'll be less against it.
I wouldn't keep one in my car just because I'm responsible for that thing, so I don't know. I wouldn't keep one in my car 24/7.
Neither would I.
G-Webs?
I'm against keeping one gun in your car because then if they find it, then they have their gun. So keep like dozens of guns in your car.
What if you have a gun on your car like the Batmobile?
Batmobile has a gun in its car? In it?
Isn't that like machine guns on the top?
Well, like bat cannons and stuff.
I thought that was the motorcycle, the bat cycle.
Well, Batman doesn't go with the NFA anyway, does he?
He's probably allowed to have whatever he wants.
The billionaires can do whatever they want, so.
All right, well, sounds like
overall, a car is not as safe, and that's the primary reason why.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of discussion, but I'm not seeing any other questions going on. So I guess that's it. Got a bunch of dead air. That'll be it. Let's see. What's today? Monday. So that means tomorrow's Tuesday. Do some shows in the daytime. Usually Knives has a chat. Then I think Ghost starts it up with his chat. Does Ellis did a chat earlier today?
he did.
Yes.
Yes.
So then I know I'm going to miss something. Is there something new that's happening on Tuesdays that I'm already forgetting?
Hit or miss.
I knew that one. Looking over at the schedule.
I got to reboot my phone. I'll be right back.
Sandhills, isn't he on Tuesday nights?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. The Tactical Tuesday. I don't know if he's doing that tomorrow or not. He did it a weird date last week, so I don't know if that's still happening or whatever. But then we'll be back here around this time. So thanks everybody for jumping in, and I guess we'll see y'all tomorrow. Anybody got anything you want to yell out before we head out of here?
Buy things from porkypiggin.com.
You don't know me says, sure nice to see a list of chats. Yeah, we have one over on Gun Channels, gunchannels.com/live. And it's up to the members to keep their thing up to date. So it might not be 100% up to date, but pretty good idea of live scheduled stuff that's out there. Looks like we got to put Gary on there on Friday.
Yep.
Is there a show after this? It's a good question. Let's go see if there's anything over there. Tater's got boiled, so he doesn't do that anymore. Knives is awake. He didn't jump into this one. He was posting something that looks like about FPC filed an amicus brief before the Supreme Court.
I'll do a lobby if Potatoes is still boiled. Or maybe Zora will do one.
Yeah, I'll do one.
All right, well then
Make a
post
lobby.
it on one of the channels then instead of just posting a dead link to a chat, because then nobody like Pants or anybody else who wants to actually listen knows where it's at.
Okay, I'll put it on Alan Anchor.
Right on, and then that way Zoro can see how it's done. Appreciate that. We do have chats after this. Chat anytime you want over on gunchannels.com. We have every second matter today, and hopefully lots of new stuff, new interviews and stuff coming up in the future here. Thanks for dropping them links, Gary. Do appreciate it. And we'll see y'all tomorrow.
Goodbye.